Good Monday morning, stepsons. I had a question from Jackson in Puyallup, Washington about how to deal with anger. If you have ever had a challenge dealing with anger, then listen to this. I've got 3 suggestions for you. The first one is go running. When I was a kid, being raised by my mom, well, she wasn't always at home, and we would get into arguments, and the arguments would escalate. And I would get so mad and so frustrated at arguments. I just need to get the energy out. The only thing between our house and the freeway was a frontage road, and I would go out, climb the back fence, and just start running down that frontage road. I'm talking a sprint. It wasn't a jog. I was getting that anger out of my system. That's the first suggestion, Jackson, is go running. Or drop and do as many push-ups as you can. Whatever you can do to burn the energy out, because your anger rises, you're getting a lot of adrenaline in your system. You want to punch something or break something. Get the energy out of your system constructively. The second suggestion is hold your breath and count to 10. Here's the story behind that one. I had the same challenge that you had, Jackson, when I was growing up. I would be frustrated. I would get so angry, I would just let off a string of profanity that would embarrass my mom if she were there. But I told this adult friend of mine in the neighborhood about the challenge I was having, and his suggestion to me was to hold your breath, count to 10, and start using substitute words. Instead of the F-bomb, say frig, which, I still say frig. One day, I was putting a stereo in my car. It had a bracket. The bracket would slide in, so when you left the car, you could slide the stereo out and take it so that it wouldn't be a temptation for someone to break in and steal it. I'm on my back, all contorted, in the car, in the front seat, with my head under the dash, trying to wire the bracket into the underside of the dash. The screws drop, you can't find them, they land in your face. It was frustrating, and I was in one of those situations where I let off a string of profanity, and then I used my substitute words, and then I started holding my breath and counting to 10. Well, the funny thing was, my friend happened to be walking up in the driveway when this was happening. I didn't know he was there, but he walks up and says, wow, that was interesting. I mean, it took some practice. Ultimately, I got to where, I don't let off those strings of profanity when I'm frustrated anymore. I actually don't get that mad because you grow into it as you mature. Getting angry at a situation like that is largely a sign of immaturity. So as you mature emotionally, you're going to learn not to do that, hopefully. Otherwise, you're living at a very low emotional maturity level. And you don't want to be there. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking that question. So that's the second one. If you're getting value from this video, give it a like. Here's the third one. Separate yourself from the situation. Now, this is one of those you're going to do if you're with someone and you are just getting mad because of the conversation or the dynamic that's happening. Then separate yourself from them. Just say, you know what? I need to think this through. Give me a little bit. We can talk about it again later. Here's a story to go with that one. I'm working professionally in my career in the auto industry as a program manager. We had 3 different companies come together through acquisitions, and the corresponding folks that were in my role, we were coming together to compare the systems and ultimately make a decision for which one we were going to use. There's a guy in this meeting who was invested in a system, right? Like we all were. As we went through the pros and cons, it became clear that the system that he used was not going to be the one that we used. This guy stands up and he says, well, F this, threw his chair, literally in that room, threw the chair and walked out. Maybe that happens in a heated locker room, but not in a professional environment. I think someone else in a leadership position had to go out and say, look, what the heck are you doing? You got to come back in here and apologize. So he came back in and he apologized. If you were that guy in that situation and you knew that your energy's boiling up and you're going to do something, you say, you know what? I need a minute away. Separate yourself from the situation, release that energy, and then when your emotions have settled down, go back into the situation and deal with it without the anger, where you can be more rational and more reasonable, even if it's an outcome that you don't want, because you're going to have those in life. It's just going to happen. So 3 suggestions. The first one is get the physical energy out. The second one is hold your breath, count to 10, calm yourself. And the third one is separate yourself from the situation. Jackson, one last thought. If you're feeling angry at yourself, then always remember you're going to be in a better situation to improve yourself, to overcome whatever challenge it is that you're dealing with, if you do it with a little bit of compassion, a little patience, and a little love. The fact that you want to get better is a reason that you can feel good about yourself. So I guess that could be number 4. Have a little compassion towards yourself as you work to overcome your anger issues. Remember, you can still succeed even if you're growing up and your dad's not in your daily life. And you do have a dad that loves you. And I'll see you on the next video.